live. We're recording. We're testing this thing out. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Ivan Herrera Show. Excuse the delay. We had to get a few things situated as far as my ability to share my screen, but we thankfully got that resolved. So thank you so much once again for being here. If you are new to the channel, in this video, we are going to be discussing a few things that I'm going to be revealing from my dynasty rankings I'm going to be dropping soon. So I'm going to give you guys a free little sneak peek in what that looks like. And then I'm also going to discuss a few draft strategies that you should consider as we get ready for your rookie startup drafts. And I will then also give a little sneak peek of what I'm currently doing in a draft that I'm in right now, which is a rookie draft. This is my second year in this league. So we are actually doing our first, I guess, rookie draft after doing our startup last year. So I'll go over that. But if you are also here, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, consider being part of this community. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I want to go over, again, once I just show what we're doing here, is this is our rookie ranking video. So again, I'm going to review a few players within the rookie landscape that I really am high on, some players that I think are going to add some great value, especially considering now that we know where they are, because it's fun to always anticipate where these rookies are going, but it's great to see everything come into fruition once they are in their team. So, okay, here's a few questions we're going to answer first. And the first one is, which rookie is in this, I'll phrase it this way. Which rookie is the safest bet? And in my opinion, that is easily Caleb Williams. And it's easy to say that because you can tell that Chicago, I feel, has learned their lesson based on what happened with Justin Fields. And we see that they have catered this offense with weapons that can help Caleb Williams be successful. I mean, for starters, they went out and invested in getting Keenan Allen. And see, this move doesn't thrill me because I get that Keenan Allen's coming off one of his better years of his career. However, he is aging, but nonetheless, he still had over 1,200 receiving yards last year. DJ Moore also had over 1,200 receiving yards. And now these two weapons are going to be there for Caleb Williams. And they also went out and drafted Rome Odunze out of Washington, someone that is slated to be really successful, in my opinion, in the NFL, someone who I think not only is a great route runner, but you hear so many great things about his character, and those things, when they couple together, lead to a really successful career. But beyond that, their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, this guy comes from the Rams, then spent some time in Seattle, and the big thing about him in Seattle is that he helped really rejuvenate Geno Smith's career. And Geno Smith, in the last 2 years, was able to throw over 3,600 yards. And as someone that is in fantasy football, I would be ecstatic if Caleb Williams was to hit that mark, especially as a rookie. And I believe that the Bears have a really good situation, not only with their offensive coordinator, but with their weapons around them. But they also are slated to have the third easiest schedule this upcoming season. So someone that I think will hit the ground running in year one is going to be Caleb Williams as far as being a safe bet for you, especially from a rookie standpoint. Now, if you were to ask me who will have the biggest fantasy impact of 2023, now that's a different answer. I'm going to lean on Jayden Daniels. And the reason why, he already has the cheat code at the quarterback position, and he has that rushing ability. And I actually just to give you guys a little bit of an update here, I actually did draft him with he fell to me at the 5th overall pick, and I was thinking I was going to get Rome Odunze. But before I get sidetracked, that's one of the things I want to just advise you, is making sure that you don't force picks or you don't stay married to a strategy. If trust that the talent that is there, you go and draft him. You know what I'm saying? Go based off the talent. Don't necessarily go drafting based off need. But okay, here's why I'm a big fan of Jayden Daniels in 2023, rather than 2024 as a rookie. Why I think he's going to make a huge impact. Number one, I love that Washington has Cliff Kingsbury. And you're probably asking yourself, well, Cliff Kingsbury, who's that guy? Well, he was in Arizona, and he has been known to use 3 wide receiver sets. He did it So back with Jayden Daniels at LSU, LSU used 3 wide receiver sets at the 6th highest rate at 93% among Power 5 schools last year. And the Cardinals last year, or rather during the tenure of Cliff Kingsbury, they used 3+ wide receivers at the 8th highest rate in the NFL at 69% during his tenure from 2019 to 2022. And he used 4+ wide receiver sets at the highest rate at 18%. So they're going to open up this playbook to really cater to Jaden Daniels. They're going to spread everything out so that way he can operate and really utilize his speed there and with the scrambling ability. And even above that, we also have a sample size there with Kyler Williams, Kyler Murray also having success there in fantasy. Here, watch, I read this out too. In his rookie season with Cliff, well, I can't believe I can't get that name out right. So here we go. Kyler Murray, his fantasy finishes with Cliff Kingsbury. His rookie season was QB 14, and in 2021 and 2020, he was QB 6. So he had a QB 6 finish in 2020 and 2021, and he had a QB 9 finish in 2022. And despite having the short season last year, he averaged 20.3 fantasy points per game. So he has a high floor. He has the capabilities to being really successful. And I think that Jaden Daniels going to Washington, I mean, he has Terry McLaurin there as well. I think he's going to be a good fit, especially considering that I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to do a good job of making sure that this offense utilizes Jaden Daniels' strengths. So I'm really excited for him and really project him to be an impact player in fantasy in 2024. Now, if you're to ask me who is in the best situation, so we went over who should be a safe bet, which is Caleb Williams. We went with who I believe is going to have a bigger impact in fantasy this year, which is going to be Jaden Daniels. Now, which rookie is? In my opinion, it has to be J.J. McCarthy. And when he got drafted, I feel like that shifted some of my rankings, especially when it came to Justin Jefferson. Not that we weren't thinking that he was going to be a top wide receiver in fantasy, but I guess I want to speak to more of the fact that it made Jordan Addison a little safer for me. And here's why. So not only does J.J. McCarthy, walk into a situation where he has Justin Jefferson, he has Jordan Addison, he has T.J. Hawkinson. And granted, he's going to be coming off a few ACL injuries there, and he also has Aaron Jones, but Kevin O'Connell's offenses have always been great. And I know it's been tough to now compare this because we saw Kirk Cousins be really successful. But if we look at Kevin O'Connell's success with the offenses during his time as a coach, the last 2 seasons in Minnesota, they have been a top 10 offense in total yards since his arrival. And I believe that this is going to be great for J.J. McCarthy because we know that he's going to thrive. He has great accuracy. He has good weapons. And I believe with the head coach that he has, this is going to be a phenomenal situation for him to thrive. So really big fan of where McCarthy went. And I'll go over later on in the video about how you should go about drafting McCarthy, how you should approach, especially depending on the kind of league format that you're in. If you're in a super flex, he's going to be a little bit more valuable considering a 1 quarterback league. So that's one thing to always be mindful of. Now, we'll actually go there right now. And there's this great piece I want to share with you. It's from The Athletic. It's from this guy called Jeff Haverlack, and he writes a great piece on success rates depending on where players are drafted. And what I want to share is that he's did this piece for over 15 years, and he collects data about not only where these players were drafted, but which specific pick within each round tends to yield the most success. And it's no surprise that when you consider and look at the first overall pick, it says here, per his research, during my 15-year data collection, the 101 indicates the 101 yields a 66.7 success rate to hit a stud status. Now, he, just to preface what this means, he categorized each player as a star, a stud, a bench player, or a bust. Now, of course, a stud being the best, a starter being someone that you can utilize week in and week out. A bench player is just someone that would typically be seen as a handcuff or someone that you would use in a very desperate situation. And then a bust is someone that, as you can imagine, just didn't live up to expectation. So he has 4 different categories within these players, and someone that was picked up at the 101 is more inclined to hit that stud status, which doesn't really surprise us. Now, he did have an interesting stat when it came to the 109 and to the 112. He says since 2008, which is when the study began, through 2016, this draft position was a wasteland for dynasty talent. Recent years have been much better. So you are seeing, for example, one player that he noted here was Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers was someone that was simply going between the 109 and 110 last year, and he's doing really well there with the Ravens, and is someone that I'm sure will continue to do well as well. So it's very important to be mindful of where these guys are being selected and where you're drafting your talent as well. Now, he did share this pretty interesting stat too about the second round. He shares in the second round, the hit rate median was between 20 and 26.7%. Generally speaking, you have a 25% chance of getting a stud or starter in the second round. Now, the reason why I bring all this up, and I actually referenced this article, because it's very important to be mindful of how you want to strategize and how you want to go about drafting, especially in your rookie drafts. So I actually made a move. I picked up the 105 in one of my leagues, and I didn't have a second rounder because I traded it for something else during the season. And I was a little bit pinched, but I made the decision of trading up to go to the 112 because I saw that there was talent there that I was really excited about. So what I did was I hit up the commissioner, who was my good buddy, said, "Hey man, you're at the 112. There's a player there that I like, and I want to trade up to go get it." And part of that was because I also was mindful of this stat about how you're more inclined to actually not hit in the second round. So not saying that I don't still approach my final picks, because this is a 5-round rookie draft, there still can't be talent there. However, I want to be mindful of the data. So if there's more of a success rate for me to draft someone early on in the second than as opposed to later on in the second, I want to make sure that I'm at least doing that, because the numbers at least show otherwise, that the numbers will work in my favor if I can at least get someone of worth the value in that first round. So what I did was I sent the first round for next year, and he gave me his first this year, and then we swapped third rounds. So that third round picks this season as well. So it was a good move, one that worked out in our favor. We got the guys that we wanted. So yeah, it's really, really cool to get into that. But okay, let's go ahead and transition. We're going to now preview some of the guys that I really am excited about in this upcoming season, especially when it comes to the various positions that we have, from wide receiver, running back, and all that. So let's go ahead and load it up right quick. And here is the first one we're going to get into. This is going to be my rankings that I have previewed for the wide receiver position. So let me load this up, add to the stage. I'm going to move myself right over here so you guys can see, get a better look. Here we go. Okay, so you can see right here, these are my rookies. This is all based off my wide receiver ranks. And I know, actually, no, this has everyone in it. So I'm sorry. This is my overall rookies. And this is for 1 quarterback leagues. I will have a Superflex one released later on as well, but this one will go over essentially all the rookies. So you'll see that Marvin Harrison Jr., no surprise here, he's at the top of the list. I also have him 6 ranked over on the position, at the wide receiver position this upcoming season. So someone that I think is going to be doing well even in redraft leagues. And as you can see here, I have Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Romadunze, Xavier Worthy, and then Brian Thomas. So this one is my top. So these are my top guys that I think will be an impactful fantasy assets for your teams early on. And what I'll do now is I'm going to go over a few of these players, and I want to actually focus on Ladd McConkey. And I know that Ladd McConkey is someone that is getting some buzz because of where he's drafted. He's in with that Jim Harbaugh offense that is going to be very run heavy. However, McConkey is also the only one that I think is going to be worthwhile in fantasy, because I don't think that there's anyone on that roster as far as pass catchers go that can get as good a separation as he can. Now, I do like Joshua Palmer, someone that I think that could be successful. Quentin Johnson is someone that I just feel like wasn't utilized right. And we even knew that he wasn't the greatest of separators, and nor was he also one of those guys that can really catch contested balls well in college. And now he was put in a situation where that's what they were asking him to do last year. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. That's why he didn't see so much production that made any fantasy managers really happy with that investment in Quentin Johnson. But I like Ladd McConkey because of that same fact. So watch here. I have some stats here to share with you guys. Not only was he a great separator in college, but here's how successful he was. He was third in success rate in separation in zone, and he was 4th in success rate in separation in zone. Rather, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. He was 3rd in success rate. Yeah, no, actually, no, I was right. He was 3rd in success rate versus zone, and he was 4th versus man. So this is someone that could get separation, and he's someone that's going to play a huge part in this offense in Los Angeles. And I believe that with Justin Herbert there, I mean, it's so hard to not fall in love with that connection. So I believe that Ladd McConkey right now is someone that I would consider late in the first round, and I would be ecstatic if he fell to me in the second round. And actually, that was someone I was considering trading when I traded up. But I traded up to get Brian Thomas Jr. because he was still available at the 112, and I didn't have a pick until the 3rd round. And the next one I want to go over actually is going to be Keon Coleman. And the reason why I want to go over Keon Coleman, because he's someone that is going to Buffalo. Buffalo, as you know, traded Stephon Diggs, and I know that that was one of the teams I was being very mindful of who are they drafting. I mean, at the wide receiver position, because we know they're going to fill a huge void there and they should get involvement, especially considering that they're going to be attached to Josh Allen. And it was really hard for me because I was just like, man, I really hope that whoever they draft will be someone that will be successful right away. And Keon Coleman for me, I think fits that bill really well. The one concern I do have is that he's going to be lined up, I'm sure, on the X, so he'll be on the outside. But he saw more success when he was actually lined up inside. But you have Curtis Samuel, you have Khalil Shakir, guys that already fill that role. So he's going to be lined up in the X. And the reason why this is a concern for him is because he's not someone that really got good separation in college. He does have that big frame, which gets excited, which makes you think that he's going to be involved in the red zone, someone that's going to get targeted heavily by Josh Allen regardless. But yeah, that's one of my main concerns with him, is that he's going to be someone that will struggle with separation and in turn may not yield some good success. Now, I currently have him ranked. If I'm filtering through, which I'll do right now, let me go actually and share with you guys my screen real quick so you can see where I have him ranked out right now. So let me just format this real quick. Okay, here we go. So I have him currently ranked. Okay, here we go. So we're going right here. No, I'm going right here. I'm sorry. Okay, great. So currently I have Keon Coleman. You can see he's down over here. I have him behind guys like Xavier Legette. I have him behind Ladd McConkey. And it's really because of that. It's just, for me, it's just a situation. I just love where McConkey is. Keon Coleman could potentially have the upside to be successful, but I do even have him behind guys. Rather, I have him in front of guys like Ricky Pearsall. And the reason why is because we don't know what Pearsall is going to, like, his whole situation is going to look like. It's going to be easy to see a more clear picture, especially once we, if Brandon Ayuk was to get dealt, if Deebo Samuel was to get dealt for whatever reason in San Francisco, I would feel really comfortable with getting and investing in Ricky Pearsall, especially some really good shares of him because of how he's going to be involved in that offense. Someone that's going to really make a big impact. Someone that's going to, I think, thrive in this Shanahan offense. Okay, now the last player I want to get into before we close out this video is going to be Jonathan Brooks. And Jonathan Brooks, for me, is someone that I think is worth mentioning because, number one, this running back class is not a good one. This one was not one that had a lot of buzz to it. You didn't get really any players that really excited you. So the reason why I'm mentioning him is because I think that if you are picking late in your first, maybe even early second, be mindful of where he's at, because I think he'd be a value there in that range. Now, aside from that, though, not only do we know that the running back class wasn't strong, we know that he's someone that is going to join a backfield that has Miles Sanders. But be mindful, he was picked at a top 20. No, he was picked in the top 46. So he was among the top 50. And the reason why this is important, because there's this great stat by Ron Stewart, and I'll also link it as well so you guys can take a look at it. He talks about within his model where players that are at the running back position picked at top 50 overall tend to have pretty good success in the NFL. So the numbers favor Jonathan Brooks being successful. I don't know about the situation right now. I mean, I still believe in Bryce Young, and I believe that it'll be a good situation for Bryce Young to thrive. How they utilize Miles Sanders, that, considering that they paid him a pretty hefty amount last year with that 4-year contract, concerns me a little bit. But Jonathan Brooks, though, being picked among the 50 overall among rookies does at least give me a pause to not be concerned, and someone that I think would be really good, especially if things work out the way that they should within that offense. So that what I'll do is, let me go ahead and pull up my account. I want to show you guys my roster and my current draft that I'm doing right now in this rookie draft. So let me go ahead and pull that up. We're currently drafting right now. So let me pull this up right here so you guys can see it. And what I want to do is I want to go over some of the strategies that I've been really approaching in this draft. So let me go ahead and share it real quick. Okay, here we go. And let's share. Let me pull up. I'm sorry about that. Let me share screen. And here you go, sleeper. All right, great. So this is the draft room. All right, so you can see here, See, should I make this a little bigger so you guys can get a better view? Will this help? No, it doesn't. Okay. All right, great. So as you can see, still figuring this thing out. Our draft is currently paused, which is great. So that I can show you the entire board. So let me back this up. Let me go this way so you guys get a better view of it. Let me see if this helps. I'm trying to give you guys a bigger view. Okay, great. Let me know if that works better. But okay, so you can see here that this is a super flex league. So you can imagine that quarterbacks went at a pretty hefty price. So you can see that Caleb Williams went number 1. Then it was followed up with Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. And this is where I was picking. I was picking Jaden Daniels at 105. Now, the guy that was picking at this pick, as you can see here, with all the trades, you can see that these draft orders as far as who has them is a little bit different than what you're seeing up here. So the guy that had the 101 also had the 103 and the 104. Now, he hit me up asking if I wanted to move up to potentially get Jaden Daniels. And to be honest with you, in my board, I was looking at Rome Odunze, someone that I was going to be targeting because I just love the talent. I love the situation there. But I also could see a situation where he, the guy that had the 101, would also want to get Odunze because he can pair him up with Caleb Williams, which ended up doing. And for me, I was happy with getting Jaden Daniels, even though I was more inclined after doing many rookie drafts that I was going to get Rome Odunze. But I got Jaden Daniels, which I feel really good about. And then you can see here Drake May, and this is where I feel early on this draft changed because the 107 drafted Bo Nix. And this moved up so many players in my rankings because I know that this guy probably was desperate at the quarterback position. And this moved up now the potential for me to get someone, considering that, again, I'm not picking in the second round. So if you see my name over here, this is mine. I don't have a pick in the second round. I don't have a pick at the 305. However, I did trade to get it in the 306. So I'm not picking until a really good while. So I reached out because now the rankings, in my opinion, shifted drastically with this move because you see that one Xavier Worthy and then McCarthy as well. And McCarthy, I know this is a super flex league, but I wouldn't really go. I mean, I guess McCarthy would be the only one I would consider going this late out the 109, 112 range. But I was really excited that this ended up panning out. And then I kept a close eye too. After seeing Brock Bowers and Keon Coleman, I had to reach out because I was really excited about potentially getting Ladd McConkey or even Brian Thomas Jr. And I was even considering getting Jonathan Brooks. So the guys that I'm reviewing, I was thinking about getting at this range. So then I reached out to the commissioner. We made that trade. Now I moved up to the 112 and I was able to get my guy Brian Thomas. And I feel like now as we're looking at it, you can see that, like, for example, Michael Penix for me, I would consider getting Michael Penix Jr. Man, late second. I mean, it really depends on the quarterback situation that you have. This guy isn't really all that strong with Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Trask. So, I mean, the move for me doesn't make much sense because Penix is someone that's going to at least sit out 2 years. So this isn't someone that is going to be making an impact right away. So it's hard for me to gauge to see what he was thinking about going there. So I'm going to just increase this a little bit so you guys can get a better view. But yeah, so for me, it's hard to see this being really a great pick, but it is what it is. And then the next one I have here, and you see that it went with Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell is going to be that second piece there in Indianapolis. I love Josh Downs a lot. Michael Pittman Jr. is like one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I think he's going to be great. And then you see here at the 205, which is, I think is a great value pick. Jonathan Brooks is there at 205. Now, I really like Trey Benson. I like him a lot, considering that he's going to Arizona. He's going to be the backup to James Conner. And yeah, I think he's going to be great. I love that pick. And Pearsall, his value goes up, assuming one of those two receivers, either Debo or Ayuk, gets traded. So be mindful of that. And then you see Roman Wilson. This is someone I am a huge fan of, and that's actually one of the guys I'm really marking as a, hey, keep your eyes out on. Just keep your eyes out for him because I love George Pickens, but Roman Wilson could see a good target share there. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see him get a 20% target share there in Pittsburgh. And I know that there's some question marks about who's going to be the quarterback there with Justin Fields and with Russell Wilson there. But yeah, just keep your eyes on Roman Wilson, even in redraft. Consider him as a late flyer, someone that could, be a good late round pick for you, for your teams. And then you see here it went Leggett, it went Blake Corum, and then it went Burton. Now, Burton for me is really exciting, Jermaine Burton, because very similar to that of Pittsburgh, very similar to that of San Francisco. If anything were to happen to T. Higgins, Burton for me then goes up as well in value as well as in my rankings because of that target share being behind an offense that has Joe Burrow. I mean, it's going to be a great connection. And this for me, I think, was a really interesting pick, going Lloyd at the 112. And then you see it went right, and then it went Jalen Polk, Makai Corley, and then you have the Senator going here at the 304. And that's where we have the draft paused. So a lot of good values that were there, but for me, Lloyd, it seems to be a reach for me as well. I don't know about Blake Corum there, considering that there's better talent at the wide receiver position. And for me, Corum is going to be more of a handcuff for now. Sean McVay even spoke about how he likes Kyren Williams so much, which is why they went for Blake Corum. So I don't think someone that is going to really get an impact right away, especially considering you got other talent there. But there is a few players I'm keeping my eyes out for. But just to give you guys an idea of who I'm targeting, just so you guys can see, I already have here. I had some running backs that I was thinking about getting. Ray Davis out of Buffalo. I have James Cook, so I would love to have that backfield. I have Will Shipley there in Philadelphia. And then I also have Jatavion Sanders out of Carolina as well, someone that I'm keeping my eyes out for. But when we look down here at the board at who's available at the wide receiver position, there isn't anyone there that I would like over these guys. So I'm gonna be very happy with either of these picks over here. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out. So you can see how that is what I'm currently doing in my draft. But all right, guys. So with that, I want to just end it with this, just making sure that you're mindful of the fact that I'm going to be dropping my rankings really soon. So be sure to follow me on Instagram. That's at the Ivan Herrera Show. And then you can also subscribe here as well. I'll be dropping more information about when you can expect those rankings to drop. It'll be a full rookie, full dynasty, PPR, one quarterback. I'm going to even make one for Superflex as well, so that way you guys can utilize that as your guides through your rookie drafts. And I will also be dropping later on in the offseason a full Excel sheet, a full spreadsheet, I should say, that will have my full rankings, so that way you have a guide to draft your upcoming for your upcoming fantasy seasons. So be sure to subscribe and follow. I greatly appreciate you. If you are on the audio, be sure to head over to YouTube as well if you want to see my draft board and how I'm approaching that. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. It really means the world to me. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.